Hey Josh, it's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Elisha. How are you?
I'm doing quite fine, and thank you so very much for being here. You see, I truly appreciate it. Thank you so much, my man. And oftentimes, Josh, I love to thank my guest for two things, okay? And I do this so often to the point where it has become my anthem. So, firstly, Josh, I want to say thank you so very much for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this platform right now because you invested in yourself. And oftentimes, my man, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. You see, Josh, some months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, there was this tall, unattractive mango tree. And I use the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves were all dry. So I just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, Josh, just recently, I was on that same road, and this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree. You see, the mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance, and immediately I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did, and it wowed me. Because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it, beautiful green leaves and healthy branches, and not just mangoes now, but very ripe mangoes. You see, it was a very beautiful moment for me that day, a special one at that. I was so excited. I tell you. Here is my point. Can you still hear me? Okay. Can you still hear me, Josh? Okay. Okay. So here is my point. The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing Josh that you are today, that alone has made it really impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you got the request for me to be on the show because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing, the impact your work is having, how you're offering your solution, your philosophies, and the beautiful stuff that you're doing. It's just amazing. And just before I sent the request, I said to myself, I've got to benefit from these beautiful things that Josh is doing. Not only me now, but even the audience. And here we are today with the amazing Josh. So thank you so very much for investing in yourself. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite. Because if you had said nope, there was nothing
Absolutely.
Elisha could do about it. Thank you so much, my man.
I appreciate it, Elisha.
Thank you. So let's get started. You see, I'm quite excited to have you on the show today, Josh, for two reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to transition from a chaotic situation to that of a beautiful one, Josh, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information, and not just knowledge now, but the application of it. And you see, Josh, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness means ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. The second reason why I'm excited to have the amazing Josh on the show is for the sake of the listeners. You see, Josh, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got lots of information flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality, eye-opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So for that reason, Josh, my man, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or professional journey, because right now we are so curious. We want to know how Josh got here. Then afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Josh, over to you.
Appreciate you, Elisha. I really liked. I think this is the way you worded it, and I wanted to repeat it because I really liked what you said. And you said something to the effect of the transfer from a chaotic situation to a beautiful one, and that really describes the last almost about 7 years of my life. I was in a so I've learned that at least in the United States, and I'm not sure how this is in other countries, but in the United States, I firmly believe that getting married is a pretty stupid thing that you can do these days. It hasn't always been like that, but today it is. Why? Well, I'll just tell you a bit of my story. So, I was married for a very long time, got married at a young age, was with a woman that I probably shouldn't have been with. And it took us many years to figure that out. We finally did, and we separated and divorced. And in that process, not only did I lose a bunch of my money and lose a bunch of my stuff and lose access to my kids, lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on attorney fees to try to just have my kids present in my life. And this is all without anything really bad happening in the marriage. There was no infidelity, there was no cheating, there was no abuse. Like there was really, we had drifted apart and decided we shouldn't be together. And it still ended with financial ruin, a business that was failed, and me finding new bottoms and deciding to live out addiction in many different formats. And what I really wish that I would have had during that whole process, I had a lot of great people around me. I had great attorneys, and that's with great attorneys, by the way. The court was favorable for me. I had a good therapist. I had a lot of great people around me, but what I didn't have is I didn't have somebody coaching me through that, helping me see what the other side looked like. And what I really wish that I would have had is somebody that was saying, here's what life after divorce looks like. Here's actually things to encourage you and to give you some sort of hope that your life's not over, because I thought that it was. And it took me years to figure out that I want to be there for guys in that exact same situation, because it's what I didn't have in my darkest of days, because I didn't have somebody that was able to sit there with me in that divorce and say, hey, your life's not over. In fact, your life's actually going to get better. And here's the reason why. Since then,
Amazing,
I have a
Josh.
better relationship. Yeah, thank you, brother. Since then, I have a better relationship with my kids. My business has done better. I have better, more fulfilling relationships. I've learned how to take off the chameleon skin that I wore so often to try to please everybody else instead of myself. And all of these things are continual learning experiences. I have not arrived. I definitely still struggle with it at times, but I'm in a space now where I can be comfortable with myself. I'm happy with where I am right now. I'm happy. I do the things I need to do. It doesn't make it any easier. It doesn't mean that relationships are just easy for me. They're not. I'm currently single. I've gone through other relationships during that time frame. But one thing that I've learned is that I'm a lot happier with myself, and I've learned how to just accept who I am and just be authentically myself. Because one thing that I've learned, Elisha, is that the more I act like myself, the more people are really attracted to me or really detracted from me. And the more I act like what I think other people want me to act like, the more people are just kind of in the middle about me. They don't have any really strong feelings. So I found that if I live my authentic self, people either love it or hate it. And that's the space I want to be. I don't want to be in this lukewarm space where people are like, yeah, I don't really think one thing or another of them. I want to be living so authentically that people either love me or they hate me. And we just lost Elisha. There's a good chance I'm not going to be able to use any of this video, but at least I'm
Can
recording
you hear
over
me,
here.
Josh?
It's so bright though. What did I do wrong about the brightness? Let's see if I can change that while I'm waiting for this guy to come back. I can't do this backwards. I'm going to go do it over here.
Okay, Josh. Sorry, my network went off. Wow. That
Yeah.
was a tough one, I tell you. And you see, the fact that you went through all of that and you came out of it and you are using your solution to help others, it speaks a lot. Because you see, I read about a particular footballer, I can't remember. He also went through something similar and it wrecked him totally to the point where he is still trying to gain his ground and trying to recover. And the fact that you became the change you couldn't find around, that's so inspiring. You said you wanted to know how life is after divorce. And you didn't see anyone who could you through that. And you became the change you couldn't find around. That's that's profound, and I love that. So I'm curious about these traps. What are the five traps most men fall into during divorce, and how can they escape it or escape them?
I appreciate you asking. That's a good setup. So last year, I wrote a book. It's on Amazon right now. It's called The Five Traps That Men Face When Going Through Divorce and How to Triumph Over Them. And I will put this out there for your listeners as well, Elisha. If your listeners want to send me a message, the best way to do it is on Instagram. So if they go and follow me on Instagram, the name is Josh The Derelict, Derelict. So if you go follow me on Instagram, Josh the Derelict, and send me a message that says the word divorce, I will send this ebook to your listeners for free. They won't even have to pay for it on Amazon. So if they're going through divorce or they're thinking about going through divorce, etc., please go there. I'm happy to send it to you because I think it'll be beneficial for you. And I just want to offer that to your audience because you were so gracious enough to have me on the show today. So thank you.
Beautiful.
So
Okay.
to answer your question, I'll just briefly tell you them because we don't have a whole lot of time to go into the details. But trap number one is to trigger too soon. So what that means is that a lot of people end up getting into a space in their marriage where they're like, forget it. Like, I just need to quit. And then it becomes this emotional decision that happens very quickly without a lot of thought process. And then a lot of the times people will get advice from one or two people, often well-meaning friends and family that give them terrible advice. Do not listen to friends and family if you're thinking about getting a divorce. There's a couple reasons for that. Number one is they love and care about you, so they want you to win, which usually means they're going to give you bad advice on how to do that because they just want you to be okay. Friends and family are the worst people to listen to when it comes to divorce. Do not listen to them. So what a lot of people end up doing is they think, oh, it's getting difficult. I don't know. Let's just go, let's just go trigger the divorce without having a lot of thought process behind that. And I don't necessarily mean if you're in an abusive situation, giving somebody another chance. If it's time for the divorce, it's time for the divorce. But make sure that you ask yourself a bunch of questions first. Make sure that you have conversations with your spouse. Make sure that it really is unresolvable. And then if it really is, make sure you're very careful in the planning of this, because if you do it really quickly with an emotional decision, you are going to end up screwing yourself financially. You're going to have less time with your kids. You're going to have less of the things that you want after the divorce. So take your time. This trap really talks about questions to ask yourself, questions, conversations to have with your spouse, etc., to make sure that this is actually something that would make sense to do. Quickly, trap number two is to trust the wrong team. I've found that most people, when they're going through divorce, if it's not contentious, just try to do it themselves. And then they end up filling out paperwork wrong and doing things wrong that they don't realize will hurt them until years later when things pop up because it wasn't done the right way in the first place. The other thing that I see that's often common is that if attorneys are involved and the court is involved, people will just listen to the first attorney that they meet with, or they won't go past that attorney. And they will remember that an attorney's job is to get you through the divorce process and charge you as much money as possible during that process. I love good attorneys. I'm not against them, but you also need to make sure that you have an advocate on your side, which is where divorce coaches come in. Have an advocate on your side to make sure that what's happening in that process is actually in your best interest. It's not in the court's best interest or the attorney's best interest. So trusting the wrong team is a big one. Number three is tossing self-care aside. It's really easy when going through divorce just to let everything go. It happened to me. I gained a bunch of weight. I also lost a bunch of weight. I lost a bunch of weight in my separation and was way too skinny. Then I gained a bunch of weight during my divorce. I wasn't exercising. I wasn't eating well. I had decided to partake in drugs and other addictive activities. And I just kind of went out there. And it was not a good situation. There's not just physical. There's not just eating. There's also mental and spiritual. When you're that tapped out going through divorce, It's really important to stick to some practices that are actually just good for your well-being. And they often get overlooked. The fourth one, if you have kids, is turning a blind eye to your kids. It's really difficult when you're going through that divorce process not to be so overwhelmed with everything that's going on, even if it's a good thing for you, that your kids don't notice. And that could be conversations of having negative conversations with your kids about your ex-spouse. That could be one thing. As an example, what I would encourage men to do that are going through a divorce or that are divorced already, never refer to your ex-spouse as your ex, ever. If you have children, especially. If you have children, no matter whether you're talking to your kids or you're talking to anybody else, refer to your ex as your kid's mom. It might seem subtle, but it changes your perspective and changes your mental attitude about that person. So instead of me saying, it's my ex-spouse, which assumes a negative thing, what it assumes is I failed at my marriage and she's the worst because I failed with her. Versus it's my kid's mom. Well, if I say my kid's mom, I'm automatically happy and joyful about this person because I'm so grateful for my children, even if I'm not grateful for her. So that's really, really key as well. And then trap number 5 is tanking relationships post-divorce. This might be the biggest trap that I see. When I created this book, I went out and I interviewed dozens of people. And I asked them, what were the biggest mistakes you made when going through the divorce? And the number one biggest mistake every single person said was jumping into a relationship too soon. Either getting back together with their ex-spouse in unhealthy ways or jumping into another relationship. And it didn't matter if somebody had been out of the marriage for a day and they jumped into a relationship, or a year or 2 years, they all said the same thing. And the common theme was, I jumped into a relationship too soon without spending the time to work on myself, realize who I am, and then bring a whole person to my next relationship. I did the exact same thing. I got into this very love addictive relationship right after my divorce because, as my therapist at the time said, it was like water in a desert. She was like water in a desert to me. She was caring, she was loving, she was kind, she allowed me to be me. She was all the things that I felt like my ex-spouse wasn't. So I got into this very love addictive relationship with her thinking, wow, my whole life is going to change now. And that doesn't work well. It doesn't work well to have that sort of relationship. So those are the 5 traps. If you want more details, again, reach out to me on Instagram, Josh The Derelict. Follow me, send me the word divorce, and I'm happy to send it to you. It's very true. And what I am still confused by is how there really aren't a lot of divorce coaches out there. There are attorneys, there are therapists, there are some financial divorce coaches that you can go to that specifically focus on the finances. I actually talk about that in the book. I'm a financial planner for the last 19 years, so I can help you with your finances as well. But it's much more than finances. As you could hear, finances was a very small portion of those 5 traps. So it's still shocking to me that people will get a coach to get a 6-pack. They'll get a coach to increase their business, but they won't get a coach to help them through the most difficult, painful, traumatic thing that they probably will ever go through in their life. It shocks me. It shocks me. I think it's just because people don't realize how big of a deal it is, and they think that all these other people can help them with it, and it's just not true, unfortunately. So I'm trying my best to make sure I can help people with that. Would you say faith, failure, and fatherhood? Whew. Man, that's a deep question that we probably don't have time to unpack all the way. But so let me start with the middle word. A lot of people have a difficult time with the word failure because when they say they failed at something, it makes them feel like they are a failure. Like it shames them, like I am a failure because I failed. But if you look at the definition of failure or fail, all it is I intended to do something and I missed. I had an intention and I missed. Look up the definition. I had an intention to do something, it didn't happen. Well, if that's the case, then I fail every single day of my life. So if we could remove the idea that failure means you're a shameful, terrible person, and we just think of the fact of well, I can never get ahead in life, or I can never succeed without failure. Show me one successful person that hasn't failed 1,000 times before they succeeded. Thomas Edison once said, I didn't fail at making the light bulb 1,000 times. I found 1,000 ways it didn't work. So the idea is, let's embrace failure. So if I bring that back into your definition of faith and failure and fatherhood, we could talk a whole hour, multiple hours about faith, but I would say that they intersect very well. If you're looking at failure with faith and fatherhood, the only way that you're going to get better, that I found in my life, the only way that I've gotten better at faith or fatherhood is by trying things that were uncomfortable, failing at them, and then realizing that those didn't sync up with the way that I want to be. For example, it took the failure of my marriage for me to become a better father. When I had less time with my kids and I had to be more present with them, I became a better dad. But that wouldn't have happened without that failure. Without my divorce, I wouldn't have realized how many fake relationships I had with the people at my church and how very uncomfortable my entire church at the time was with anybody that was divorced. And the moment that I got divorced, everybody pretty much outcast me. I wouldn't have learned that aspect of my faith to become closer to my God or higher power universe, whatever you feel comfortable being. We're all spiritual beings. But I've learned to expand my idea of God, to expand my idea of a higher power, to expand my idea of the universe after that happened, because I was in such a small box. And when that box exploded and everybody decided I didn't fit in their little box anymore, they all turned their back on me, which was one of the best things that ever happened to me. Because what it made me realize is the view that I have of God right now is too small. My mission, my purpose with the higher power that I now believe in is much, much bigger than I ever expected. And I feel the same way about being a dad. I try to be as present as possible with my kids now because I know that life is short and time is short. And when you don't have them 24/7, it's just like any relationship. If you only see a person in your life every once in a while, you crave them when you're not with them. It's the same way with my kids. Like I crave them when they're not here. And then when they're here, I'm like, yes, let's be as present as possible. Now I fail at that all the time as well. But until I fail at it, I can't realize how to get better. Yeah, good question. So again, as far as reaching out to me, Instagram's the best way. I respond to all my messages. Go to Instagram. I'm Josh The Derelict. Just type that out. Follow me, send me a message, send me the message divorce. If you want the ebook, I'm happy to send it to you for free. You can skip the cost on Amazon. What I would leave people with is specifically if you are single in a relationship where you're not happy or divorced, I'm specifically speaking to you. If you're single, not happy in your relationship or divorced, I want to leave you with hope. The other side of this relationship can be much better maybe than you're thinking it will. When I was going through my divorce, I thought it was the end of my life. I grew up in a household where you didn't get divorced, where you stay committed to somebody, where you kept that no matter what. It was outside of my control. My spouse decided to end the marriage. I didn't have any control over that. So 2 things. Number 1, you can't control the relationship. All you can control is yourself. So work on yourself, try to become the best version of yourself. If you want help with that, feel free to reach out to me. And then the second thing is just know that you have everyone, when they go through a relationship transition, has a choice. They come to a T in the road. And this way is I'm going to dig into my old patterns, my old beliefs, my negative mindsets. I'm going to dig into addiction. I'm going to go sleep with a bunch of people. I'm going to eat a bunch of food. I'm going to do a bunch of drugs, whatever it is for you. I'm going to work a bunch. I'm going to shop a bunch. And you're just going to dig into those things. And I promise you the end of that road is not happy. It's not joy. It's not you being fulfilled. It's not you being the authentic yourself. And then the other amazing opportunity you have is to dig into becoming the most authentic, beautiful version of yourself possible. And I've chosen both paths. I've definitely failed at this. But my encouragement to you is if you're on this path, you have a beautiful life ahead of you. Thank you, Elisha.